I had always believed in family first, that no matter what happened, the people closest to you would always have your back. I was wrong. My marriage to Emma had lasted over a decade. We had built a life together, raised two amazing kids, and created what I thought was a happy, unbreakable home. But it was all a lie. I found out about Emma's affair purely by accident. That evening, I had come home earlier than expected. It was supposed to be just another quiet night. Dinner, TV, maybe some time with the kids. But fate had something else planned. As I stepped through the front door, I noticed something off. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Then I saw it. Through the slightly open bedroom door, Emma was in bed with another man. Not just any man. William. A so-called friend from work. My entire body went numb. I wanted to storm in, to drag him out of my bed, to confront her right there and then. But before I could even move, a voice behind me stopped me in my tracks. You should have stayed out longer. I turned around to see my mother, calm, unbothered, as if this wasn't a betrayal of the worst kind. "Mom, you knew?" I whispered, my voice barely coming out. She sighed, shaking her head. "Everyone knew, honey. Your brother, your aunt, even your dad." The walls closed in on me. My entire family had known about Emma's affair, and not a single one of them told me. I wasn't just betrayed by my wife. I was betrayed by my own blood. And at that moment, I made a silent vow. Emma had no idea what was coming for her. Now that I knew the truth, I didn't confront her immediately. Instead, I started planning something so brutal, so cold, that it would destroy her completely. I stood there, frozen, as my mother's words echoed in my head. "Everyone knew, honey. Your brother, your aunt, even your dad." My hands clenched into fists. I wasn't just betrayed by Emma. I was betrayed by my own blood. I wanted to barge into the bedroom, drag William out by his throat, and make Emma beg for mercy. But no, that would be too easy. If I wanted my revenge to be truly unforgettable, I had to be smart, ruthless, patient. I turned back, leaving the house without a sound. Emma and William had no idea that I had just caught them. They had no idea their lives were about to crumble. The first step, gathering proof. Before I could destroy Emma, I needed evidence. Solid proof. Unquestionable, undeniable, humiliating proof. I started by digging into her life in ways she never expected. GPS tracker. I discreetly installed a GPS tracker in her car, logging every place she visited. Hidden cameras. I placed small, motion-activated cameras around our house, and even in the cabin we rarely used. Phone and laptop access. I hacked into her devices. Emails, messages, call logs, deleted files. It didn't take long to find the filth. And what I discovered? It wasn't just William. Emma had been cheating for years. Multiple men, different places, different lies. The woman I had loved was nothing but a fraud. But instead of breaking me, this knowledge made me stronger. I wasn't just going to leave her. I was going to bury her. The second step, the DNA test that broke me. As I continued gathering evidence, one horrifying thought kept nagging at me. What if the kids weren't mine? I shook the thought away at first. That's impossible. But deep inside, something didn't feel right. So, one afternoon while Emma was at the gym, I took the kids to a clinic and secretly did a DNA test. The results came back a week later. And when I opened the envelope, my world shattered all over again. One of the kids wasn't mine. My stomach twisted. My hands shook. I felt like throwing up. For over a decade, I had raised another man's child, fed them, cared for them, loved them. And Emma? She had been laughing behind my back this entire time. My revenge wasn't just necessary anymore, it was personal. The third step: preparing the final blow. Now, with all the proof I needed, it was time to execute my ruthless plan. Step by step, I began erasing myself from her life. Emptied our joint bank account into a private account. Transferred all property to my name using loopholes Emma didn't even know existed. Hired a top divorce lawyer, making sure I had every legal advantage possible. Recorded every interaction, building an airtight case that would leave her with nothing. And then I disappeared. No warning, no goodbye. When Emma came back from one of her weekend getaways with William, she walked into a house that was completely empty. And on the kitchen table, she found the divorce papers and my final note. Emma returned home from her weekend getaway with William, probably feeling on top of the world. She had no idea that her entire life had been wiped away in a matter of days. As she stepped inside, expecting the warmth of her home, she was met with emptiness. The house was completely vacant. No furniture, no photos, no clothes, not a single trace of me or the kids. Just a cold, hollow space. Her heartbeat must have raced as she walked through the house in confusion. She ran upstairs to our bedroom, empty. She checked the closets, bare. Panic set in. That's when she saw it. A single envelope sitting on the kitchen table. Her hands trembled as she opened it, revealing two things: the divorce papers, already signed by me, a handwritten note from me, and as she read it, her world collapsed. Emma, the kids and I are gone. We are never coming back. The house, the money, the property, it's all yours now. Enjoy it. But the kids, they stay with me. You are finally free to enjoy life with your lover. This is what you wanted, right? But if you even think about fighting this, I'll make sure everyone, including his wife and family, knows the truth about you and William. You made your choice. Now live with it. Your ex-husband. Emma read the note. Her hands shook. She dropped it. Then she fainted. The aftermath. A life in ruins. When she woke up, reality must have hit her like a freight train. I was gone. Her kids were gone. Her reputation was hanging by a thread. She must have frantically called me, her fingers shaking as she dialed my number. Number disconnected. She called my family. They refused to talk to her. She tried calling William, but he didn't pick up. She was truly alone, and she had no one to blame but herself. Emma sat in the empty house, her hands shaking as she reread my letter. The kids and I were gone. The home that once held memories of our family now felt like a graveyard of her mistakes. She tried calling me again. Number disconnected. Panic coursed through her veins as she frantically searched for answers. But there were none. She had traded her family for an affair, and now she was reaping the consequences. Her next instinct? Call William. But when she did, he didn't answer. Not once, not twice, not ever. Because by now William's wife had already received the evidence. The perfect leak. Before leaving, I had carefully gathered every piece of proof of Emma's affair. Photos, messages, videos, and even GPS records. I sent everything in a single, devastating email to William's wife, Susan. When she opened it, her world shattered just as mine had. Anger, betrayal, humiliation. She felt it all. And Susan? She wasn't the type to suffer in silence. She wanted revenge. So she took the evidence and sent it to Emma's workplace, forwarded to her boss and HR, our mutual friends, so they'd know the truth, her parents, because they needed to see their daughter for what she truly was. Emma's affair wasn't just a secret anymore. It was now a scandal. The public humiliation. The next morning, Emma walked into work like nothing had happened. She had no idea that her entire office already knew. The whispers started as soon as she stepped in. Stolen glances, disapproving stares, smirks from coworkers who once respected her. Then her boss called her into his office. She sat down, confused, expecting a normal meeting. Instead, he slid a printed copy of the email in front of her. Her stomach dropped. Emma, we don't tolerate this kind of reputation in our company. You've embarrassed yourself, your family, and now us. Her lips trembled. Please, I can explain to a single envelope slid across the desk. Termination letter, effective immediately. Emma had just lost her job. She stormed out of the office, her heart racing, her breath uneven. She needed comfort. A place to hide. She needed William. But when she called him this time, he answered. And the first words out of his mouth were, "You ruined my life." Emma had always thought of William as her escape, her fantasy, her second chance at life. He was younger, fitter, more exciting than the husband she had secretly grown bored of. He made her feel desired, alive. But now? Now her entire world was crumbling, and she was about to realize that William wasn't her escape. He was her mistake. The phone call that changed everything after losing her job, her marriage, and her children. Emma had one last hope. William. She fumbled for her phone, her fingers trembling as she dialed his number. It rang and rang. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he answered. But instead of comfort, she was met with anger. "What the hell did you do?" William's voice was sharp, filled with frustration. Emma felt a flicker of hope. He answered. That meant he still cared, right? "William," she whispered, trying to hold back tears. "I need you. Everything is falling apart." There was silence on the other end. Then a sharp laugh. "Yeah? Welcome to my life, Emma. You ruined it." Her breath caught. "Ruined it? What do you mean?" "Achi." Susan knows. My family knows. My job knows. You didn't just mess up your own life, Emma. You destroyed mine, too. Emma's stomach twisted. "William, please. We can fix this. We can be together." "Be together?" He cut her off with a bitter chuckle. "Are you serious? I lost everything because of you." Emma stumbled back, gripping the edge of the empty dining table. This wasn't what she had expected. "You told me you loved me." Another silence. Then the final blow. That was before everything went to hell. "You were just supposed to be fun, Emma, not a disaster." Her lips parted, but no words came out. Fun? That's all she was to him? The same man she had thrown her entire life away for was now treating her like a regret. Tears blurred her vision. "So, that's it?" "Yeah, that's it." And then he hung up. The loneliest night of her life. Emma collapsed onto the floor, staring at her phone in disbelief. She tried calling him back, straight to voicemail. She tried texting him. No response. Her hands were shaking as she scrolled through her contacts, looking for someone, anyone who would listen. But one by one, she realized she had no one left. Her friends? Gone. They had already chosen my side after finding out about her affair. Her parents? disgusted. They had disowned her the moment they learned she had been cheating on the father of her children. Her coworkers? They wouldn't even look at her anymore. For the first time in years, Emma was truly, completely alone. And the worst part? She had done this to herself. As the night dragged on, Emma sank deeper into despair. She tried drinking to numb the pain, but it only made her cry harder. She thought about driving to my new home, begging me for another chance. But she knew she wouldn't even make it past the door. She had burned every bridge she had. And now, she had nowhere to go. Emma had spent the longest, loneliest night of her life drowning in regret. By morning, her eyes were swollen from crying, her body exhausted from the weight of her own mistakes. She had lost everything. But there was still one last thing she wanted. With no other option left, Emma drove straight to my house. She hadn't been here since the day she walked into an empty home and found my note. As she pulled into the driveway, her heart pounded. She practiced what she was going to say in her head. He's a good man. He still loves me. If I just apologize, if I just show him how sorry I am, he'll take me back. I won't lose everything. She rang the doorbell. Seconds later, I opened the door. And when she saw me, she burst into tears. Please, just talk to me. I stared at her. I felt nothing. The woman standing in front of me wasn't the wife I once loved. She was just a stranger. What do you want, Emma? I asked coldly. She looked past me, desperately searching for the kids. I just want to see them. They're my children. I sighed, shaking my head. You think after everything you did, you still deserve them? Her face crumbled. I know I messed up. Please, I can fix this. I pulled something from my pocket and handed it to her. Custody papers. She flipped through them, her fingers shaking. Full custody. No visitation rights. You took them from me, she choked. I nodded. You took everything from me first. Her knees nearly buckled. She gripped the doorframe like she might collapse. You can't do this to me, she sobbed. I let out a short, humorless laugh. No, Emma, you did this to yourself. She wiped at her eyes, looking at me with pure desperation. I love you. You don't even know what love is. She flinched. I took a deep breath and stepped back inside. Goodbye, Emma. And with that, I shut the door. For good. For the first time in years, I felt at peace. Emma was gone. The divorce was final. The kids were safe with me. And most importantly, I was free. A fresh start. I moved to a new home, somewhere far from the memories of my old life. I got a better job, focused on my health, and spent every moment being the best father I could be. My kids, they thrived. Without the toxic energy of their mother in their lives, they finally found stability. And me? I was happier than I had been in years. But Emma? She had nothing left. Emma's downfall. She tried fighting the divorce. She tried getting sympathy from friends. She even tried dating again. But everywhere she turned, her past followed her. She had become a cautionary tale. Her old friends abandoned her. Her reputation was ruined. She could never find another stable job. Even her own parents refused to support her. Eventually, she left town. She packed whatever little she had left and disappeared, running from the mess she had created. Nobody cared. Nobody missed her. And just like that, she became nothing. It had been a year since I last saw Emma. A year since I had closed the door in her face. A year since I had finally taken back control of my life. I had moved on. I had rebuilt. But fate had one last moment planned for us. The unexpected meeting. It happened in the most unexpected place, a quiet coffee shop on a Sunday morning. I had just finished a run and stopped in for a coffee, feeling lighter than I had in years. Then, across the room, I saw her, Emma. But she wasn't the same woman I had once loved. She sat alone in a corner, staring at an untouched cup of coffee. Her hair was messy, her clothes were old, wrinkled, her shoulders slumped with exhaustion. She looked lost, empty. For a moment, she didn't see me. Then, as if she felt my gaze, she slowly lifted her head. Our eyes met. The conversation she never wanted to have. She hesitated, then stood up and walked toward me. I took a sip of my coffee, watching her. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't angry. I felt nothing. She stopped a few feet away, her lips parting like she wanted to speak, but no words came out. Finally, she whispered, "Hi." I nodded. "Emma." Her eyes searched my face, looking for something, pity, forgiveness, regret. But she found none of it. She looked down at her hands. How are the kids?" "They're great." Her face tightened. She nodded, swallowing hard. That's good." Silence stretched between us. Then, in a small broken voice, she asked, Do they ask about me?" I let out a slow breath, then told her the truth. "Not anymore." Her body stiffened, as if those words had hit her harder than anything else. She nodded slowly, but I saw it. The slight tremble in her fingers, the way her throat bobbed as she fought back tears. "I deserve that," she murmured, her voice barely audible. I didn't respond, because we both knew it was true. Emma took a deep breath, then lifted her gaze to mine. "I really messed up, didn't I?" For the first time in years, I saw it in her eyes, realization. She finally understood. She had thrown away a good man, a loyal family, a beautiful life, and now all she had left was regret. I gave her a small, indifferent shrug. "Yeah, you did." Tears pooled in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. She nodded once, then stepped back. "Take care of them." I raised my coffee in a silent toast. "I always have." With one last glance, Emma turned and walked out the door. She didn't look back, and neither did I.